We get there Thursday night. I get all my media day stuff done. You know, I get to bed. I'm going to bed feeling really good about the next day. You know, get to get some testing in on Friday, and then we go out for testing on Friday. And we've got a little bit of a clutch issue, and I'm like, hey, first test session, no big deal. So we go in. The guys fix a bunch of stuff. They're working their tail off for 5 hours straight. And we go out for the next test session and problem's still there. Work overnight trying to get that car working and trying to get it ready. And we go out for the practice session on Saturday and everything's great. I mean, the car runs, the setup's not great, but we figure we're gonna get it fixed for qualifying and we're gonna have a good race car, and then qualifying gets rained out. So we start off of my crappy practice time, and I think I'm starting like 24th overall or something like that. And so I take a deep breath. I'm like, hey, it's a long race. We've got 75 minutes out here. I'm just gonna try to pick one off at a time. And I'm getting suited, I get my pre-race prayer in and ready to go, and then boom, everything's gone just with a snap of a finger. So that was just kind of like the last straw, I guess, was that just right before while we were on grid. And then it was just a tough weekend, but they happen, things break, it's a race car, things are not gonna go well, things are gonna go well. So we learned a lot on that weekend, and I grew myself, my character, and I'd say my adaptability and resilience definitely helped, and the crew learned a lot about the car and what tends to break on them. So we got a new rear end in it this week, and we're good to go. I mean, I guess quoting the Ford versus Ferrari movie, there's just a certain point at a certain, RPM with just the engine screaming and stuff like that, where you just feel at peace and like the whole world just goes quiet, whether it's packing up on a race start, double file, and just that adrenaline rush, and just how it just makes me feel like I can express myself, and it just makes me feel like I'm at home and where I belong to be, where I'm meant to be. I've tried a lot of things in my life and I've failed at a lot of things in my life, but racing is just so much different. It's the first time in my life where I feel like I'm not trying to be someone that I'm not. Yeah, this is my second year racing in person in real life, so it's definitely a big pill to swallow, I'd say. And the hardest thing about it is just nobody knowing who I am and nobody knowing my talent, my skill, and that's what this year is about, is just proving that, hey, this is me, this is who I am, and I belong here and I can hang with all these other kids. On one hand, it's nice to have a big fan backing and to have a big reputation and name to yourself, and everyone's like, oh, he's that kid, and you know, he's a SCUSA Nationals, SCUSA Pro Tour champion, and he's a Grand Nats champion, Super Nats champion, or you know, he went and won a GT Challenge race, or went and raced in ARCA. But at the same time, it's also nice having people be like, you know, who is this kid and where did he come from? You know, being on the simulator for probably 3 years before I ever got into a go-kart for the first time. And then by the time I started go-karts, we kind of just decided if I start karting at 16, then by the time I'm competitive with all these kids, I'm gonna be 20 or 18. And at that point, there's not really much to do.
The ingredients are there, it's how you mix that ingredients. And this year's all about understanding what's happening. So again, we always talk about building that foundation. That's what he's doing.
At some point, they're gonna be like, who is this kid and why is he where he is? Why is he up with all these other kids we know? And then at that point, it's nice to have people kind of look back into me and really figure out who I am. But it's definitely a challenge not having a name for myself. That's the biggest part of this year, I feel like, is building my reputation, building my name, and really putting myself out there.
I think it makes it easier to come home if you're sad, anxious, anything. You come home and you get to see your dogs, and that makes everything better. Especially from a long day, a long weekend at the track and whatever. They're always here, always happy.
Yeah, I agree. Dogs are the best. They're my favorite. They don't talk back. He had a super rough day. He had to wake up today. And get out of bed too. That's probably the hardest thing he's done all day.
The other thing we do is my dad comes, he gets coffee every morning for my mom and him, and he comes home every day with treats. I know.
You can say coffee. Coffee? Jack, do you want to go get coffee? Because they substitute coffee with treats. So I'm the youngest, and then Jackson is, I think, like 20, 30 minutes older than me, so he has that on me, but nothing else. It's my serve because I scored. What is it, 4-4?
It's like everything we do.
4-3. 4-3? I have 4. Okay. All right, that wasn't my best work. We got it.
Homework, studying, grades, everything.
That wasn't my, oh yeah, that was my point. Good job. That was fine. That was a close one this time. I don't remember not having a competition with him. I think it's pretty much our whole life. We've always been trying to like be better than the other one. So, I mean, it can be with racing, who can eat our food quicker. It's just, it's honestly anything that requires 2 of us.
I feel like we need to cut accidentally set it for 5 hours instead of 5 minutes.
I can cook if I want to. If I wanted to, I could. I don't want to, but I can if I can choose to. I'm very limited. If I have a recipe in front of me, I'm good. But if I don't, I'm not good.
It was more just for fun, like go out with my dad to Wisconsin and drive with him, like bonding, just fun time like that. But I think when I got older, like 11, 12, when we started hopping into cars, it was like, all right, like I used to have other trainers I used to go with in Chicago to do that stuff. And it's like, I mean, even 8 months ago, I don't think I would ever expected to be down here because we just moved in August. And it's even in June and July before that, it's like never expected to be moving down to North Carolina and starting a new life with Toyota down here and school, everything.
I tell all of them that when you step into this race car, when your parents put you in this race car, you become an adult. You have to act like an adult. You know, I'm going to be hard on you, you know, but because this is it's a tough sport.
Anything can change in like the blink of an eye, so it's really hard to figure out, like, and it's kind of hard to play it, but you really just have to focus on you.
For like me growing up, you never got an opportunity to drive a race car at 13, 14, 15 years old. You know, everybody that wanted you to drive, I was very fortunate. I drove for other people most of my career, and but they wanted you to have experience before they put you in. I was lucky enough that some guys seen me at a young age and said, hey, you know, here's your shot.
Sometimes you're like, oh, but what if I never make it? But I think that fuels you even more when you're sitting there thinking like, well, I might as well work the hardest at it and be the best at it. And who else will they pick besides me?
There's no really entry level. Like there is, but it's still hard. Like there's no, like you can't just go somewhere and be like, oh, I want to race and do, you can't expect yourself to do good. Really anywhere you go, there's going to be challenges, people that are better than you if you go there. I mean, when you first start racing, there's going to be someone that's done it longer, you know, just has more experience, and that's kind of like the whole reason you keep pushing, just because you want to be better than them, and then you'll find somebody else and you're like, oh yeah, I need to beat them. Like you want to be the best, and you can never really go into it expecting a lot. Like once you start, you really have to just focus on getting better. Like there's a skill disparity that's like really big.
At this age, I look for progression. I look for, you know, hey, what did we learn the last couple of weeks that we're bringing it back every week, you know, bringing it back from this year to next year. And again, it really takes, no matter what situation you're working with a driver, it usually takes a year or two. Even the adult drivers, it takes a year or two for everything to start clicking. You know, we're in a little bit different mode here as far as grooming them. And you know, so again, my goal is to just hope that they leave here with something more than they came with.
I think you're constantly learning, and there's no time that you're like, oh, well, I'm talking to him, it's fine. You're always, especially like me coming up new to the series and everything, I'm learning everything from everybody, writing it down, like filing it, whatever.
It's just like anything. If you want to be good at it, you got to go for it. You got to want to be here.
As a race car driver, you have to always know where victory lane is if you plan on winning. You know, pulling over the bridge and coming in there and seeing victory lane right there, it just gives you a sense of, all right, at the end of this weekend, I'm gonna be there. It's racing, and we're all doing what we can to win.
The feeling of winning is great. Well, I don't think I'm ready. I know I'm ready. I mean, motivation's a really big one. Just what gets me up every morning, and just like, I just think about like, this is what I chose to do with my life, and I'm really thankful for it.
Last season, I had never been to any of these tracks with a Trans Am car. I'd been there in an open wheel car or something else, but never in a TA2 car. So 3-lap runs, you know, in one practice session, I wanted maybe a couple more, like you said, just to try and teach myself a little bit more and whatnot. But, you know, learning to be able to have quick runs like that and being able to go out and figure it out right away is definitely a strong suit.
Very few people come into TA2 their first time and run away with a championship. You know, I actually have not seen that. It takes a while.
There's probably 14 or 15 guys that could win a race at any given track at any given point.
When I did the road courses races with NASCAR and ARCA and NASCAR, not all of them are so very strong on road courses. But here, you know, you're coming to a championship that everybody is good on road courses. This is what they're doing. So I knew it's gonna be tough, but I'm ready for that. Like again, I came from Europe. I did only road courses my whole life. That's my thing. It's gonna be tough, but it's gonna be fun.
Just with how close everybody is, it's not so much about just being fast. It's about being smart and being a really good racer.
Let's just say this race has a history of the opening laps being a little bit rough. Yeah, I'm a little nervous, to be honest with you. I can see a lot of these young drivers going for it.
You look at the class of 2025, and they started out a little bit wild, and they matured a lot to the point where our last 2 races of 2025 were green to checker with no full course cautions, and that's amazing. What a turnaround from race 1. So I'm hoping we can kind of continue that momentum with some of the veterans that have come back and keep the message of the rest of the drivers that we're sending out, keep them patient. All drivers know how to press the go on the whoa pedal. That's not the issue. It's when you press it and how much you press it, and they're very calculating how to do that.
For me, in regular season or championship format, you just want to go out there and obviously you want to win every race, but at the end of the day, just get solid points, just rack up solid points throughout the year. And one of the national karting championships I won, I think I only won 1 race, and the rest of the races I finished on the podium, and it was enough to win the championship just because I was consistent. And maybe I could have won more races, but I played conservative and took a P2 finish because I knew that in the end it would pay off.
I think SLR and Chevrolet have done a pretty good job of sussing out young drivers at an extremely young age and seeing their potential, and Helio is probably one of those guys. You can look at how he got the pole at Coda, but it's backed up by the speed that he had going in, especially with so little time in those cars, and he's done an amazing job.
It didn't surprise me because I have been watching him making that kind of races for 2 years. Since 2024, I know how he drives, how he managed all that kind of fights. With me, the first time he beat me, I was really surprised and happy. It was like, wow, this is a great kid, how he fight with me and he beat me. And it was not like I feel injured, I feel like happy because that kid is gonna make big things happen.
I think this weekend he knows there's a lot of eyes upon him. I think some of the veterans will race him a lot differently because he was an unknown quantity back then. But now they know who he is. He's in a front-running car, a winning team. Watching him at testing, I think he's on the front end of the spear there, on the tip of the spear.
Growing up, I was like, man, I'm going to go to IndyCar, or I'm going to be in NASCAR. You just say these things, but then as you get older, you realize it's not as easy as saying you just want to be an IndyCar driver, right? There's a lot of money behind the scenes. I think as a driver, all you can do is just kind of, in a way, ignore that and just focus on just doing the best that you can on track, because that's all you can do. So controlling the things that you can control.
One of the most rewarding parts of my job is doing what I can to contribute to helping young drivers make the right decisions or get faster, or any part of seeing them grow into a more viable option for a team owner that wants to hire them. That's so much of the percentage of why I'm in this position in the first place. I enjoy that a lot. It's a way for me to give back. It's interesting and exciting. But there's another side of that when I am part of the decision-making process for any penalties or whatnot. And there's a lot of those penalties and decisions that have to be made that are, even when they're clear-cut, but often, there's a lot of gray area and borderline stuff that you have to make a call on one way or the other, and you have to make that call. Having been in that situation and having something that I've wanted so much, worked so hard for, dedicated so much time to, and had one little instance that takes that away, as a driver, it was gutting. As someone that had to be a part of the process to take that effort and penalize it is gut-wrenching.
The Mozak incident, I went into the corner, I felt like, prior to the caution, I felt like I was just eating away at those guys. I was catching them like massive chunks of time a lap, and I knew I was going to get by them if we had stayed green. So I think at one point, like at first when the yellow came out, I was like, oh crap, we're going to end under caution. Dang it. Didn't quite get back to the podium. And then when we went green, and we had the start, and then it was like hectic. I mean, I wasn't really thinking about like long term. I was just like, I gotta get by Mozak and I gotta get to Vinny, and then we'll see what happens after that. Try to get back to second. But specifically into the corner, you know, I went into the corner, hit the brake pedal. I knew as soon as I hit the brake pedal, I was like, oh crap, I've got a lot of momentum on him here. And, you know, I felt like I got to the inside based on what the rule says. It's just racing, and, you know, it's the first race of the year. We got 11 more to go to get back points.
Yeah, Graham Jacobson, I didn't get to talk to him too long, but funny story, he was running SCCA race here, and then went home on Saturday, had his prom, and then was racing again here Sunday morning, because this is his home track, and he's really into racing. So I've never heard somebody leaving a racetrack to go to their prom to come back to the racetrack. I thought that was pretty cool.
With my first actual race being at my home track and being at a place that's just so special to me, I think it's really good. And I have so many of my family and my friends here supporting me, and so many people that are just from Georgia that are supporting me too.
He's here. He loads into Road Atlanta. He had what would be described as not a great Sebring, and he's loading in, but his whole family's here. Extra pressure on him to run really well for the Saturday race here.
Honestly, I'd be lying if I said I didn't come back in the trailer after Sebring and bawl my eyes out for probably 10 minutes straight. It's just all the work that we put in over the off season, all the work that the team put in getting the car ready, and all the work I put in trying to, you know, get laps in every way I can and study, watch Rafa, listen to him, get coaching, and everything we did, and it just, you know, all goes to crap within a split second of us just leaving the grid. I mean, after Sebring, I'll take a good result as if I take the green flags. I mean, Road Atlanta is just so special to me, and it just feels like my second home almost at this point. And coming to a track that I'm so familiar with, and I know every single crack in the pavement and every single hill and turn and everything like the back of my hand, it's comforting knowing that I'm somewhere that I feel good in and I feel comfortable in. And I've never driven a TA2 car here, but I've driven plenty of other cars here, and pretty much anything with four wheels I've done a lap at Road Atlanta. And so it's really nice to, after how crappy that weekend was at Sebring, it's nice to come and get a good rebound here. It's like I told Rafa, I can be sad about it, I can be mad about it, but at the end of the day, you know, sulking about it isn't going to change anything. And at the end of the day, I'm forever grateful to be able to come out here and say, for me, a disappointing weekend is not getting to drive a race car, where for a lot of people, that's the reality for every weekend. Every single night that I'm here, I always sit at the bridge at turn 11 and watch the sunset from 10A. If you just look straight that way, it's a beautiful sight. But I know a lot of people that come here often, whether it's like HPDE days or race weekends or anything pretty much. And just the people and the atmosphere and just being around cars just always makes me really excited. Just coming out here and being able to drive a good race, in my opinion. I don't have to win, I don't have to be on the podium, but if I can be satisfied, I mean, with how I am, I'll never be satisfied if I don't win, but I can, you know, take a deep breath and say, I think I'm proud of myself this weekend. I think that's the most important, that's my goal this weekend.
There's a ton of new and interesting stories in the paddock. One of them is Graham. He is coming off of a really tough start to the season at Sebring, where he had a mechanical that didn't even let him get to the green flag. So showing up to race 2, being his home track, this was going to be something that he wanted to prove a point, and it was awesome.
It sounds a little corny, but you can really feel when you and the car are like together, and when you can really feel the car and the car responds to how you're driving and how you like to drive it. And there's just a certain point where you know, you can feel it in the wheel that, okay, this is how that car wants to be driven, and this is how fast this car is going to drive through this corner.
Shot out in practice too, straight to single digits on the pointy end of the chart. I think he was top 6 or 8 the entire weekend in just about every session he did. So for a rookie to come in, be best qualifying rookie, have a really solid run and show speed, that was an awesome, shot in the arm.
Whenever I go out, I'm not really thinking at all. You can't really think when you're driving a car that fast, and you just don't have time to think. Forget about the last session, forget about the last weekend, forget about the last year. It's just all about this one session, this one lap, this one turn at a time.
He's got strong teammates that he's close to in time, veterans that have won championships and tons of races, and he's already showing in the second race that he's right there, deserves to be here, and I'm looking forward to seeing his success as another one of our young drivers that learns on this platform and advances.
It's 8th place, so I'm not gonna go and say I'm over the world about it, but it's a really good starting spot especially after how bad Sebring was and how emotional that weekend was, and just being able to come out here, be the fastest rookie in qualifying, and be able to finally show the world what I could do. Yeah, I think a lot of it is gonna be people saying, where the heck did this kid come from? Because at Sebring, it just wasn't good. I was off the pace at Sebring, but Sebring's a tough track, and then so I come out here and I've had a bunch of people come and tell me, they're like, good job. So I think that's the best part, is people are finally starting to notice that I have what it takes to be in this series.
I think that the drive comes from early in my karting years growing up. Me and my dad were always kind of the first ones to be at the track and last ones to leave. We just like being there early and practicing before everyone else, and then leaving later because we were just always trying to fine-tune those little details. So obviously you can kind of see the resemblance here now. I probably got to the track, I want to say around 8 this morning, and obviously now it's 8:40.
When you see a kid that grabs pole by a few tenths, which is a large margin, then dive into his data and stay at the track until it's dark going over stuff, because his pole wasn't quick enough and he saw a hole here or there and wants to get better.
Got my first official pole. The past 2 races I've gone off of practice time, so feels good to finally get the official pole position. It's not like I got lucky or anything.
When you start pushing that envelope from the inside out, and what makes the great teams always great, it's a people culture, and it's the attention to detail.
Yeah, heading into it, I knew obviously we made really good changes throughout practice this weekend. We were kind of missing a little bit, and the car was already great, but Rick, my crew chief, he's like, I want you to complain. We need to make this car perfect. And I was like, all right. So I complained throughout practice, and we're just hunting for these little details. Even though we're quicker than the field, we're still going after those little margins. And so we finally found it in the practice before qualifying. And we're like, all right, we're in a good spot. So we made one last change before qualifying. We were kind of uncertain because we felt like we were in a good spot, but we knew the track was going to change. So we're like, do we stay where we're at and be, happy, or do we try and go for more? And so we went for that one change, and it worked. So we got track record in qualifying, which I had no idea of until this morning. So that was really cool.
Helio Meza has been impressive on so many different levels. There's a natural talent that's obviously there, but then there's a dedication beyond just that talent.
I have a more mature conversation with him than I do with a lot of adults. But it's not just the art of the conversation, it's how he says stuff. And when he's, just like his driving, it's calculated, but it's natural for him. And I don't know if his hearing disability has made him look at things differently. It's almost like he has a photographic memory, but his attention to detail on everything, not only from a car performance, but what he's doing as a driver, what the track is, what he's asked, what he's feeling from the track. He's got that whole package, and he's just starting to scratch the surface of it.
As you kind of progress in your career, you kind of understand what lingo to use that works better with your crew chief or whatever, whether it's your team or your crew chief. For me, I've just learned kind of the right words to use, so that way it gets to the point directly. Because a lot of times you can go on a rant and kind of not explain too much, but I feel like that's one thing I've also studied is even in off season or prepping for a race, like what words can I use to maximize the detail that I give my crew. So last year I drove here in the MX-5 Cup cars, and those cars are super all over the place, and when you hit those curves it kind of launches you off a lot, and it's very similar to these cars. But another thing you have to deal with is when the car lands, it bottoms out pretty hard, and so you have to really make sure your car is pointed straight, because if you hit the curb at the wrong angle, you'll go off track. And so I had a close moment in qualifying where I hit the curb just at the slightest wrong angle, and I barely grazed and dipped some tires in the dirt in turn 4. But yeah, that's the super deceiving corner, because it's one of the blind corners that you go into, so you have to really make sure when you turn in, I mean, that's where you're turning in, you're committed at that point, so you're just holding on. So you have to make sure that when you turn in into the corner that you better be pointing in the right direction.
And 2 is a theme for these numbers I'm about to give you, Andy. In 2 tries in TA2, he started first twice and finished first twice.
From a rookie standpoint, let me ask you this. The question should be, what did Connor Zillage do? What did Tristan McKee do? He didn't win his first race, the 4th race in. Helio right out of the box. Put it on the box. Second race, out of the box, put it on the box. Proof is in the results, isn't it?
Yeah, so now that we get to the start of the Cube 3 TA2 series and here at Road Atlanta, and my heart's always pounding because here's 31 of my friends, about to take the green flag.
My whole thing in my racing is I just like to play it safe, especially with how long this race is and how it's just going to be down to whoever saves their tires the most. If I'm going to fight hard to keep my spot and to gain spots, but at the same time, if someone's burning up their tires, being really aggressive and tries to make a move on me, I'm not going to try and fight it and kill my tires over that. I'd rather just save my tires and get them back with 10 to go.
And on the front row, a couple of Chevrolets. It's Meza on the inside in the 28 machine. And to his outside, it's Perez de Lara in another Chevy Camaro. Pace car is off. And round 2 of the Q3 Architecture TA2 series is green.
3 for 3 is pretty, I just thinking about it, it's pretty cool to think about that I'm going after that, but I try to disconnect from that. I kind of mentioned it a couple times in the past where I really separate my process from the outcome. And I think that's why I'm able to stay so calm in the car when I go out there, because I'm not worried about the result. I'm just trying to have fun and execute as best as I can, and whatever happens, happens. Obviously, it's been going well. We won COTA, we won Sebring. Now I'm happy because I got my first official pole.
I mean, I don't know if it was my earbuds are better or if it was just me, but I mean, everything just went silent. As soon as I put on my helmet, everything was just silent, and I didn't hear the motor, I didn't hear anything, I didn't hear myself breathing until my engineer told me green flag, and that's when I just kind of I just snapped out of it. And it just felt so natural to go out there and fight with Thomas Merrill and fight with Gian and defend against Laney and just all these great drivers, and really being able to be up there with them and prove myself and say, hey, I'm a great driver too.
And Helio Meza just doing Helio Meza things, pulling away from the front of the pack quickly.
He's good at everything. The braking zones, the S's, the technical parts, the restarts.
You're feeling the car, you're feeling the tire, and for me, I don't know if it's my hearing or whatever, but I can feel everything really well. So if I miss a corner, I can feel it. I'm like, that's half a tenth or whatever it may be. Then that corner is another half a tenth. Then just throughout the lap, it kind of adds up, and then you realize, okay, let's try and fix it the next lap.
I mean, at first I thought there's something on the track or something up with my suspension or something, but I just got a big lick of understeer right on the exit of 12. I went off track. I managed to keep it out of the wall, keep it straight, but then hit a little pothole there. It just blew my whole left splitter off. So
Yeah, we got one off here, speaking of going off track.
Look at the gravel.
Looks like he's not going to hit anything, but that's going to be a hard place to get back on from.
That's Jacobson.
at that point, I mean, I tried to get it refired. I mean, it refired. It never stalled, but it wouldn't turn and it wouldn't get out of the grass. So at that point, you know, it's obviously just a wave of disappointment, but it's a lot different when it's your fault versus something that's out of your control. So I've learned from it, and while it's a tough way to learn, I guarantee you it's never going to happen again.
Well, I race in Europe in the Euro NASCAR. So basically NASCAR in Europe, and it's mostly on road courses, this is where I came from, road courses. I'm not doing ovals usually. And I was looking for something as similar to that, but on road courses, and I just fell in love with the TA2.
I'll say this about Alon Day, he's the show. I told him this the other day too, at Sebring, right? The race didn't end up working out. The car ended up getting all beaten up and the fenders flapping off it, but he was a show at Sebring.
He's a wheel man.
I hope I'm going to be in the top 1.
Alon Day has been putting pressure on everybody today. He's made a big charge from the back.
We spoke to Alon Day at Sebring, and he had a very good showing there, but I think this weekend he definitely raised some eyebrows.
Oh, did he get
contact?
Or was that just heavy braking in the smoke there?
It could have been, yeah, locking up a wheel, but it looks like Day gets a spot.
Yeah, but I just like competition. I don't think it's even about cars. I think it's just competition. If I wasn't driving cars, I would race something else, like camels or whatever. I would race on something.
Here comes Alon Day, first one out of line, a peek to the inside.
The opportunity that JSSI gave me to drive here, to sponsor me for this season, is such a big opportunity for me, so I was training as hard as possible, trying to prepare myself as hard as possible, and I think I'm in the highest shape I've ever been in my life. More than when I was winning the championships in Europe, more than anything else.
It looks like Alon Day has now taken third place, so he is in the podium spot.
Alon Day will come from a wrecked race car and not qualifying all the way up to the third step on the podium.
But I knew Alon, after Sebring, he had some potential, and I knew he had a really good success off in other series, racing in the Euro stuff. And obviously, when he missed out on qualifying and had an incident in practice, I was bummed for him because obviously I wanted to start up front with him and see, you know, how good of a race we could have had. And so I knew he was going to come up through the front. So I said, you know, before the race, I'm like, I'll see you up there. And sure enough, I look in my mirror on the final restart and I see him P3, and I was like, all right, this is going to be good. But unfortunately, we finished under yellow, and I don't really like to win races that way. But I think, you know, how the race was playing out, I think we would have won it fair and square anyway.
And the amazing Meza, Helio Meza, wins again. Today here at Road Atlanta, he led every lap and dominated today after setting a new track record in qualifying.
Heck yeah, Helio, way to go, buddy. SSLR top 3. Way to go, guys. Way to go. Congrats, guys. Congrats on the top 3. Thank you guys so much. Oh, this feels good. Thank you, guys. For all the hard work. Oh, this feels good. Thank you guys so much.
try not to crash the car again. Mainly. I try to be as safe as possible. I knew that people will do mistakes. I was hoping for some cautions. I wish that caution in the end will come, but it is what it is. Yeah, I try to be safe, take them one by one, not doing any stupid mistakes, and bring the car in one piece back, which was the most important for me.
It just feels like everything's worth it in those 5 seconds. Whenever I hug my dad and know how much work and effort he's put into to allow me to chase my passion and dreams. Obviously, he's made a lot of sacrifices for me since I was born. From a young age, with the hearing issue I had, not knowing if I would live a normal life or whatnot, and up until now, not knowing if I would ever be able to drive a race car professionally due to the hearing issues. But he's persevered and fought really hard for me to chase my dreams, and I think this is the least I can do is share those moments with him and show him how appreciative I am of him. You know, he's from Mexico, so the main sport there was soccer, right? And he was kind of the oddball out and was watching racing. And his family kind of, made fun of him or poked at him for watching racing. He's like, why aren't you watching soccer, right? But that's what he loved to do. But unfortunately at the time he didn't have the funding to get a kart or go racing. So, he wasn't able to live out that dream. And so growing up, he never forced it on me per se, but he always had it on TV. He was always watching it in the mornings. And then, got me my go-kart for my 6th birthday, and I fell in love with it. And so, he always made sure and told me that he never wanted me to feel like he was forcing it on me and that we could stop any moment I wanted. So I think, as a dad or as a father, that's, an important thing to say to your kid, just because it takes the pressure off of me, right? I'm not feeling pressured by my dad to perform. And even if I did feel like I didn't do well or the result wasn't great, my dad would always tell me good job and give me a hug after the race. And I just think that just reinforced me to go out there and do my best, and I didn't have to worry about my dad being mad at me or screaming at me after a session.
That's why this sport is just like no other. There's no other sport where your biggest challenge is going into braking at 170 miles an hour, and there's no other sport where it's quite literally life or death. And to be able to do a sport like that and do something that I just love doing, and I'm always smiling, and even when I'm not, I'll go and realize I'm like, dude, I'm battling with 2 other cars right now, and one of them's a TA2 champion. I'm having fun, I'm having a good time, and every single time you see me with a helmet on, I can guarantee there's a smile under my face.